The necklace that watched me back. Some dreams don't scream. They wait quietly until they break you. Every morning on my way to work, I passed the same road, same traffic, same noise, same tired faces rushing to places they hated. But for me, that road held something different. Halfway down the street, between a pharmacy and a closed cafe, there was a jewelry shop. Small, silent, always glowing. And inside that shop, hanging perfectly in the center, was a necklace. I noticed it on a random morning. I don't even remember why I stopped that day. Maybe my feet were tired. Maybe my heart was heavier than usual. But the moment I looked at it, something inside me paused. It wasn't expensive looking. It wasn't flashy. It was simple, silver, delicate. A tiny stone resting in the middle like it was holding a secret. From that day on, my routine changed. I never entered the shop. I never touched the glass. I just stood outside, watching. Before you continue, subscribe, because this story isn't about jewelry. It's about how a single object can slowly take control of your thoughts without you realizing it. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Every morning I stopped there for a few seconds, sometimes a minute, sometimes longer. I told myself I was just curious, but curiosity doesn't make your heart ache. Hope does. I imagined wearing it. Not for weddings, not for parties, just once on a normal day so I could feel like life had given me something only for myself. But reality always pulled me back. I didn't have money for dreams. I had a sick mother. My mother was always tired, always in pain. Some days she smiled just to make me feel strong. Other days she couldn't even get out of bed. Medicines were expensive. Tests never ended. Doctors always wanted one more scan. Every rupee I earned disappeared into hospital receipts. I never complained, because when you grow up too early, you stop asking life for extra things. So the necklace stayed behind glass. And I stayed outside. Sometimes while standing there, I felt stupid. A grown woman staring at something she couldn't afford, like a child looking into a toy store. But I couldn't stop. It felt like the necklace knew me. One evening, rain started suddenly. People ran for shelter. I didn't move. Water soaked my clothes as I stood there longer than usual, staring at the reflection of my own tired face in the glass. That's when I felt it. Someone watching me. I turned slowly and my stomach dropped. My stepmother was standing across the street. She wasn't supposed to be there. She never came near my workplace, never took this route, never showed interest in my life, but there she was, watching. She didn't look angry. She didn't look curious. She looked calculating. Her eyes moved from my face to the necklace and back to me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled, not a warm smile, not a kind one. A smile that felt like it had discovered something. I panicked. I adjusted my dress nervously, suddenly aware of how wet, cheap, and worn it looked. I felt exposed, ashamed. Like she had just caught me stealing something, even though all I did was look. I walked away quickly without saying anything. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed that moment again and again, her eyes, her silence, that smile. The next day I went to work like nothing happened, until lunch break. A man stood near the reception desk holding a small paper bag, elegant, clean, completely out of place in our dull office. "Is there an Isla here?" he asked. My heart skipped. "Yes, that's me," I said slowly. He handed me the bag. "This is for you." I laughed nervously. "There must be a mistake." He shook his head. "Paid in full, no sender name." My hands started shaking. I carried the bag to my desk like it was something fragile, dangerous. Everyone watched. I opened it, and the room disappeared. Inside was a velvet box. Inside the box was the necklace. The exact one, the same silver, the same stone. The same impossible dream. My ears rang, my chest tightened, my vision blurred. I don't have a boyfriend, I don't have rich friends. I never told anyone about that necklace. No one knew. I closed the box quickly, my hands cold. That's when I felt it again. Eyes on me, I looked up. My stepmother stood at the office entrance. Watching, smiling, the same smile. In that moment, a terrifying thought crossed my mind. What if this necklace wasn't a gift? What if it was a message? Because some things don't enter your life to make you happy. They enter to remind you that someone has been watching you for much longer than you realized. Bell subscribe, because in part 2, I will reveal who really paid for the necklace and why my mother's illness was not as simple as I believed. Some gifts don't cost money, they cost silence. I didn't wear the necklace that day. I couldn't. It felt heavy even inside the box, like it wasn't meant to sit on my skin, but on my conscience. I kept it hidden in my bag, zipped twice as if it could somehow crawl out on its own. At work, I tried to focus. Emails, calls, smiles I didn't feel. But my hands kept shaking and my eyes kept drifting to the bag on the floor beside my chair. Every few minutes, I remembered my stepmother's smile. That calm, knowing smile. Before you continue, subscribe. Because from this point on, the story stops being innocent and starts becoming dangerous. When I finally reached home that evening, the house was unusually quiet. Too quiet. My mother was lying on the bed facing the wall. Her breathing sounded shallow, tired, like every breath required effort. "Amy," I whispered. She turned slowly and smiled when she saw me. That weak smile she always gave, as if she didn't want me to worry. "Did you eat?" she asked softly. I nodded even though I hadn't. I helped her sit up, gave her medicine, adjusted her pillow. My mind kept screaming to tell her everything, but I couldn't. She was already carrying too much pain. I went to my room and locked the door, then I took the necklace out again. Under the yellow light, it looked even more unreal. Clean, perfect, untouched by my struggles. I turned the box over, something slipped out. A small white card, no names, no message, just one line printed neatly. "Some things return to where they belong." My chest tightened. What did that mean? I sat on the bed for a long time, staring at the card until footsteps outside my door made me freeze. A soft knock. "Isla," my stepmother's voice said sweetly. "Can I come in?" My heart dropped. I hid the necklace under the pillow and opened the door slightly. She stood there holding a tray, tea cups, biscuits, acting normal, too normal. "I thought you might be tired," she said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. "Work must be exhausting." I nodded, unable to speak. She placed the tray on the table and sat on my chair, crossing her legs calmly. Her eyes scanned my room, not searching, measuring. Then she said casually, "So, did you like the necklace?" The world tilted. What?" I stammered. She smiled gently. "The necklace, the one you received today." My mouth went dry. "You sent it?" I whispered. She laughed softly. No, don't misunderstand." She leaned forward slightly. "But I knew it would come." I felt cold. "How?" I asked. She picked up my hair clip from the table, turning it between her fingers slowly. "Because you've been standing outside that shop for months, Isla, every morning, every evening, always looking at the same piece." My hands clenched. "You were watching me?" I asked. She shrugged. "A mother notices things." She wasn't my mother. "And besides," she continued calmly, "when someone wants something that badly, the world usually finds a way to test them." "Who paid for it?" I asked sharply. She looked at me then, really looked. "Does it matter?" she replied. "Yes," I said, "it matters to me." She sighed, stood up and walked toward the door. "Enjoy the gift," she said over her shoulder. "You deserve something beautiful for once." Then she stopped. "Oh," she added lightly, "your mother's test results came today." My heart jumped. "What results?" She turned back, her expression unreadable. "The doctor says the treatment can continue," she said. "But it will be expensive." I stared at her. "How expensive?" I asked. She named a number. It was impossible. My knees felt weak. "How will we pay for it?" I whispered. She smiled again, the same smile. "That," she said, "depends on you." That night I couldn't sleep. The necklace lay on the table, catching moonlight, watching me. The next morning I decided to go back to the jewelry shop, not to buy, to ask. The shopkeeper was an older woman with tired eyes. When she saw me, her expression changed, recognition. "You came," she said softly. "Yes," I replied. "I need to know something." I showed her the necklace. Her face went pale. "You shouldn't have this," she whispered. "Who bought it?" I demanded. She hesitated, then leaned closer. "It wasn't bought," she said. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice. "It was returned." My blood ran cold. "Returned from where?" I asked. She looked at me carefully. "From a long time ago." I shook my head. "I don't understand." She sighed deeply. "This necklace," she said, "was originally purchased by a woman who looked just like you." My breath stopped. "When?" I asked. "Years ago," she replied. "She said it was for her daughter, but she never came back to collect it." I felt dizzy. "Did she give her name?" I whispered. The shopkeeper nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "She said her name was Isla." I stumbled out of the shop, my mind screaming that was impossible. I had never been there before. I had never bought it. And yet that night, as I sat beside my mother's bed, listening to her uneven breathing, I finally understood something terrifying. The necklace didn't come into my life because I wanted it. It came back because it was waiting for me, and whatever price had already been paid for it had not been paid with money. Bell subscribe because in part 3, the past will start revealing itself, and I will learn what my stepmother knows about my real mother, and why this necklace was never meant to be worn. Some truths don't arrive loudly. They sit beside you quietly and wait for the exact moment your heart is weakest. I didn't go home after leaving the jewelry shop. My legs carried me somewhere without asking my mind for permission. The street felt unfamiliar even though I had walked it 1,000 times. Cars passed, people laughed. Life continued unaware that something inside me had cracked open. A woman who looked just like me, same name, same necklace. Bought years ago for a daughter. My hands were shaking as I sat on a bus bench, staring at nothing. The words of the shopkeeper replayed again and again in my head, each time cutting deeper. She never came back to collect it. Why would someone buy a necklace, leave it behind, and then disappear? Before you continue, subscribe. Because from this moment on, the story stops being about a necklace and starts becoming about identity. When I finally returned home, the lights were off. The house smelled faintly of medicine and boiled tea leaves. I slipped off my shoes quietly and walked toward my mother's room. The door was slightly open. She was awake, not sleeping. Not resting, just staring at the ceiling. "Amy," I whispered. She turned her head slowly and looked at me. For a second her eyes widened like she was seeing something she hadn't expected. Then she smiled weakly. "You're late." I sat beside her, holding her hand. Her skin felt colder than usual. "Are you in pain?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "I don't want to go back to the hospital," she murmured. "They ask too many questions." My heart tightened. "What questions?" I asked gently. She looked away. "About the past," she said. Silence filled the room. I took a deep breath. "Amy, do you remember the necklace I showed you once? When I was younger," her fingers twitched. I noticed. "You used to tell me stories," I continued carefully, "about how you wanted to buy me something special one day, something silver." She swallowed hard. "I don't remember," she said quickly, but her voice betrayed her. I reached into my bag and slowly placed the necklace box on the bed. Her eyes froze on it. The color drained from her face. For a long moment she didn't speak. Didn't breathe properly. Then she whispered, "Where did you get this?" My throat tightened. "You tell me." Her hand shook as she touched the box. Not the necklace, just the velvet edge, like she was afraid of what was inside. "I told them to get rid of it," she said faintly. My heart dropped. "Told who?" I asked. She closed her eyes. "I tried to protect you," she whispered. A sharp fear crawled up my spine. "Protect me from what, Amy?" She opened her eyes and looked at me, not like a sick woman, but like a mother about to confess a sin she had carried for years. "You weren't supposed to remember," she said. My breathing stopped. "Remember what?" I whispered. She struggled to sit up, pain flashing across her face. I helped her gently. "When you were little," she began slowly, "you used to get sick, not like this, different." My chest felt tight. "You would forget things," she continued. "Faces, places, sometimes yourself." I stared at her. "The doctors said it was stress," she said bitterly. "They were wrong." My mind raced. "I didn't have money back then," she went on. "Your father had already left. I was alone, scared." Her voice broke. "They said there was a study," she whispered. "A way to help children like you. They promised it would fix everything." The room felt like it was closing in. "What kind of study?" I asked. She looked away. "Memory conditioning." My hands went cold. "They said you would forget the pain," she said. "They didn't say you might forget parts of yourself." A sudden flash hit me, a white room. Bright lights, a woman leaning over me. I gasped. "You took me there?" I asked. Tears streamed down her face. "I thought I was saving you." I stood up dizzy. "That woman," I whispered. "The one who bought the necklace, was that you?" She nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I bought it for you before the treatment. I wanted you to have something normal, something beautiful." "Why didn't you take it?" I asked. She looked at me with pure fear. "Because when we came back," she whispered, "you didn't recognize me." My knees buckled. "You screamed when I touched you," she cried. "You called me a stranger." The world spun. "So you left the necklace," I said slowly. "Like you left that part of me." She sobbed quietly. "They told me it was temporary," she said. "They told me the memories would come back." I felt sick. "Did they?" I asked. She looked at me. "They are now," she said. At that moment, footsteps echoed in the hallway, slow, calm, familiar. My stepmother stood at the door, listening. "I told you not to dig," she said softly. My blood ran cold. "How long have you been standing there?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Long enough." She stepped inside, her eyes moving from my mother to the necklace. "You always loved that piece," she said casually. I turned to her. "You knew," she nodded. "I helped arrange it," she replied. My heart pounded. "Arrange what?" "The forgetting," she said. "It was necessary." "For whom?" I demanded. She looked at my mother. "For her," she said calmly. "And for you." I clenched my fists. "What do you want from me?" I asked. She took a step closer. "To see if the treatment failed," she said. "And it has." She looked at the necklace. "If you wear it," she continued, "everything comes back." My mother screamed weakly, "Don't." My hands trembled as I picked up the necklace. Because deep down, I already knew. This wasn't about remembering something beautiful. It was about remembering something they had worked very hard to make me forget. They'll subscribe because in part 4, I will wear the necklace and the memories that return will change who I am forever. Some objects don't decorate you, they unlock you. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped the necklace. My mother was crying softly on the bed, her weak voice begging me to stop. My stepmother stood near the door, calm, confident, like someone watching an experiment finally reach its final stage. "Don't wear it," my mother whispered again. "Please, some memories aren't meant to come back." I looked at her. At the woman who had raised me with tired hands and silent sacrifices. At the woman who had loved me enough to lie to me for years. Then I looked at my stepmother. Her eyes weren't cruel. They were satisfied. "Before you continue, subscribe. Because once I wore that necklace, nothing in my life stayed the same, not even me." I lifted the chain and placed it around my neck. The moment the cold silver touched my skin, the room disappeared. Not slowly, instantly. The walls melted away, the sounds blurred. My heartbeat became thunder in my ears. I grabbed the edge of the bed, gasping as if the air had been sucked out of my lungs. And then I was 8 years old again. I was sitting on a chair too big for me. My feet didn't touch the floor. A bright white light hung above, hurting my eyes. A woman in a blue coat knelt in front of me, smiling gently. "What's your name?" she asked. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She frowned slightly and wrote something on a clipboard. Another memory crashed in. I was crying. My mother stood outside a glass wall, her hands pressed against it, begging someone I couldn't see. A man blocked her path, shaking his head calmly. "She'll forget," he said. "That's the point." My chest tightened so hard I thought my heart would stop. I screamed. I felt hands on my shoulders. I felt needles. I felt fear. Then everything went dark. I collapsed to the floor in the present, gasping for breath. My stepmother rushed forward, but not to help me, to watch. "Interesting," she murmured. My mother cried out my name, trying to move, trying to reach me. I crawled backward, clutching my head as more memories attacked me violently. I saw the necklace again, but this time it wasn't behind glass. It was in my hands, my younger hands. I remembered choosing it. I remembered begging my mother not to leave it behind. "I'll come back for it," she had promised. She never did. I remembered the treatment days, the forgetting days, the days when people looked familiar but felt wrong. The days when mirrors scared me because I didn't fully recognize the girl looking back. The necklace wasn't just jewelry, it was a key, a marker, a reminder of who I was before they erased me. I ripped it off my neck and threw it across the room. The memories didn't stop. Because once the door is open, you don't get to close it again. I staggered to my feet, breathing hard. "You did this to me," I whispered to my stepmother. "You knew," she nodded calmly. "Yes." "Why?" I shouted. "Why would you help them erase me?" She walked closer, lowering her voice. "Because the version of you before the treatment," she said slowly, "asked for it." My blood ran cold. "That's a lie," I said. She shook her head. "You were hurting, Isla. You were remembering things that were destroying you." "What things?" I demanded. She looked at my mother. My mother shook her head desperately. "Don't tell her." But it was too late. "The accident," my stepmother said. "The night your father died." The room spun. My father had died in a car crash when I was very young. That's what I'd always been told. "That wasn't an accident," she continued. A sharp pain tore through my chest. "You were in the car," she said. "You survived." I screamed. "No," I cried. "That's impossible. I would remember." She looked at me with something close to pity. "You did," she said. "And that's why they erased it." Another memory exploded inside me. Rain, headlights, glass shattering, my father screaming my name, my hands, small hands on the steering wheel. I collapsed again, sobbing. You blamed yourself, my stepmother said quietly. You couldn't live with it. My mother cried openly now. She was just a child, and the treatment worked, my stepmother replied. Until the necklace came back. I stared at the necklace lying on the floor, silver, silent, deadly. You watched me all these months, I said slowly. At the shop. Yes, she admitted. I needed to know if the memories were waking up. Why now? I asked. She took a deep breath. Because your mother is dying, she said, and when she goes, there will be nothing left to protect you from the truth. My legs felt weak. So what happens now? I whispered. She met my eyes. Now, she said, you remember everything. My mother reached for my hand. Isla, listen to me. Memories don't define who you are. But I already felt it. The weight, the guilt, the truth. I wasn't just a hardworking daughter sacrificing everything for her mother. I was a child who survived something she shouldn't have. In the necklace, it wasn't sent to make me happy. It was sent to make sure I never forgot again. As I stood there, broken and shaking, my stepmother spoke one final sentence that froze my blood. You still have a choice, she said. Wear it again and accept who you really are, or destroy it and lose your mother's treatment forever. I looked at my mother. At the necklace, at the life I thought I had. And I realized the most terrifying truth of all. The price was never money. The price was me. Bell subscribe because in part 5 I will make a decision that will change my mother's fate and reveal why this necklace was never meant to save me, but to control me. Some choices look like freedom, but they are only cages with prettier doors. I stood there frozen, my eyes moving again and again between the necklace on the floor and my mother lying weakly on the bed. Her breathing was uneven now, shallow, as if every breath was borrowed time. My stepmother's words echoed in my head, wear it again or lose your mother's treatment forever. I felt sick. This wasn't a choice. This was blackmail dressed as mercy. Before you continue, subscribe, because what I decided next will make you question whether love can ever be separated from control. My mother reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. Listen to me, she whispered. Whatever they told you, whatever you remember now, you are not that accident. You were a child. I wanted to believe her, but memory is cruel. It doesn't care how young you were. It doesn't care how much time has passed. It simply returns. I closed my eyes. The rain came back. The headlights. The sound of metal folding like paper. My father's voice screaming my name, not in anger, but in panic. I felt the steering wheel again, too big for my hands, too heavy for my mind. I opened my eyes and screamed. I didn't mean to, I cried. I didn't mean to hurt him. My stepmother didn't flinch. I know, she said calmly, but guilt doesn't disappear just because it's undeserved. She walked closer, her heels clicking softly against the floor. You lived your entire life trying to be good, she continued. Trying to pay for something you never understood. That's why you gave every rupee to your mother. That's why you never bought anything for yourself. My throat tightened. That's not love, I whispered. That's punishment. She smiled faintly. Exactly. I looked down at the necklace. It looked innocent, it always had, but now I could see it clearly. This necklace wasn't sent to give me memories. It was sent to activate obedience. I picked it up slowly. The silver felt cold, familiar. I know what you're doing, I said quietly. My stepmother raised an eyebrow. Do you? You don't care if I heal, I continued. You care if I stay controllable. My mother squeezed my hand weakly. Isla, please. I turned to her. Amy, I said softly, forcing a smile. If I forget everything again, will you forgive me? Her eyes filled with tears. There's nothing to forgive. That's when I understood the deepest truth. My mother never wanted me to remember. My stepmother never wanted me to heal. Both were trying to protect something, but only one was protecting me. I turned back to my stepmother. You said the treatment depends on my choice, I said. She nodded. Yes. So if I refuse, I asked, you'll let her suffer? Her silence was my answer. Something inside me hardened, not anger, clarity. You think I'm still that child, I said slowly. The one who could be guided, erased, redirected? I lifted the necklace. But I'm not. My stepmother's eyes narrowed. Be careful. I remember now, I said. And that means I can choose differently? I walked toward the window. What are you doing? She asked sharply. I opened it. Cold air rushed in. I'm taking your leverage away, I replied. I held the necklace out, my mother gasped. No, if I destroy it, I said, you lose control over my memories. And your mother loses her treatment, my stepmother snapped. I turned back to her. Only if you choose that, I said. And if you do, then the truth will come out. Her face tightened. I know everything now, I continued. The clinic, the study, the payments, the signatures. I saw it then, fear, real fear. You wouldn't, she said. I already lived without myself once, I replied. I'm not afraid anymore. For the first time, she hesitated. You think you're strong, she said quietly, but remembering doesn't make you powerful. It makes you fragile? No, I said, it makes me honest. I tightened my grip on the necklace. The silver chain snapped with a sharp sound. The stone fell to the floor and cracked in half. Something inside me screamed, not pain, release. My stepmother stepped back like she had been struck. You've destroyed years of work, she whispered. No, I said, I destroyed your hold. My mother sobbed openly now. I rushed to her side, holding her tightly. I'm here, I whispered. I remember, and I'm still here. The room felt different, lighter, but not safe. My stepmother straightened slowly. You think this is over, she said coldly. It's not. She picked up her bag and walked toward the door. You may have broken the key, she said, but the lock is still inside you. The door closed behind her. Silence followed, heavy, final. My mother held my hand tightly. What will happen now? She asked weakly. I didn't know. But I knew one thing. The necklace was gone. The memories were back, and whatever came next, I would face it as myself. Not the girl they erased, not the child they blamed, but the woman who finally understood that love should never come with conditions. As I sat beside my mother, listening to her breathing, a terrifying thought crossed my mind. What if the necklace wasn't the only trigger? What if remembering everything was just the beginning? Bell subscribe, because in part 6, final, the past will demand its final payment, and you'll discover whether remembering the truth saves me or destroys everything I love. Some endings don't arrive with closure, they arrive with acceptance. The night after the necklace broke, I didn't sleep, not because I was afraid of nightmares, but because I was afraid of silence. For the first time in my life, there was nothing blocking my memories. No fog, no blank spaces, no comforting lies layered over pain. Everything was sharp, clear, and painfully real. The past didn't rush me, it waited. Before you continue, subscribe, because this final part isn't about revenge or miracles. It's about what happens when the truth finally loses its power to hurt you. My mother slept restlessly beside me, her chest rising and falling unevenly. Every breath sounded like a question the universe refused to answer. I watched her all night, wondering how many choices she had made out of love and how many out of fear. By morning, I understood something that changed everything. The necklace was never the center of the story. I was. 2 days passed. No calls, no messages, no sign of my stepmother. The quiet felt unnatural, like the calm after a storm that hadn't finished yet. On the 3rd day, the hospital called. My heart dropped when I saw the number, but the voice on the other end wasn't cold, it was careful. Your mother's case has been reviewed, the doctor said. There's been a change in her treatment plan. I sat down slowly. What kind of change? I asked. There's a government-funded program, he continued. Long-term patients, overlooked cases, your mother qualifies. My breath caught. And the cost? I whispered. It's covered, he said, fully. The call ended. I stared at the wall for a long time, my mind racing. My stepmother had lost her leverage, and she knew it. That evening she finally returned. She didn't knock, she never did. She stood in the doorway looking smaller somehow. Less certain. Less in control. You broke the chain, she said quietly. Yes, I replied. She walked in slowly, her eyes scanning the room like she was seeing it for the first time. You think you won, she said. I shook my head. This isn't about winning, she laughed bitterly. You don't understand what you've destroyed. I understand exactly, I replied. You built a system where my pain kept everything running smoothly. Her jaw tightened. You survived because of that system, she snapped. No, I said calmly, I survived despite it. She looked at my mother sleeping. You still love her, she said softly. Yes, I replied. And you still hate me, she added. I met her eyes. No, I said, I finally see you. That stopped her. For the first time, she looked exposed. I see a woman who was afraid, I continued. Afraid that the truth would ruin the life she built. afraid that my memory would become inconvenient. Her voice trembled. You were dangerous. No, I said, I was inconvenient. Silence fell between us. She took a deep breath. If you tell anyone, I won't, I interrupted. She stared at me. Why? Because my healing doesn't require your destruction, I replied, and because carrying hatred would only continue what you started. Her eyes filled not with tears, but with something close. Regret. She nodded slowly, then turned and left. That was the last time I saw her. Weeks passed. My mother grew stronger, not suddenly, not magically, slowly, like someone who had been waiting a long time for permission to live. In me, I changed. Not in the way movies show, no dramatic transformation, no instant peace. I still remembered the accident, I still remembered the fear, but the memories stopped controlling me. I began therapy, real therapy, no erasing, no conditioning. No silence, just truth. One day my therapist asked, "Do you still blame yourself?" I thought for a long time before answering. No, I said, but I don't deny what happened either. That was the moment I realized something powerful. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means no longer punishing yourself for surviving. Months later, I walked past the same jewelry shop. The display had changed. Different pieces, different lights. The necklace was gone. I didn't stop. I didn't look back because for the first time I didn't need a reminder of who I used to be. That night, my mother and I sat together drinking tea. You never bought anything for yourself, she said softly. I smiled. Maybe I finally did, I replied. She looked confused. What? She asked. My life, I said. I bought it back. She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently, and in that moment I knew the story was complete. Not because the pain ended, but because it no longer owned me. Final note: some stories don't end with justice. They end with clarity. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose to live without chains that no longer exist. Subscribe for more emotional, psychological stories that don't just entertain, they stay with you. The end.